All right, let's build something. Today, we're going to spin up a React to-Do app completely from scratch. You're going to see exactly how a simple idea gets turned into a real, structured, and styled application, one step at a time.
Seriously, have you ever thought about it? You pop open an app on your phone and it just works. But behind that smooth, easy experience, there's a really deliberate process. And today, we're going to pull back that curtain.
And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're not just going to talk about theory. We're going to get our hands dirty and build this thing together, right from the very beginning. So, first things first, every good project needs a plan. Now, before a developer writes a single line of code, they start with a blueprint. In the software world, that blueprint is called a user story. It's all about defining what the app needs to do, but, and this is key, from the perspective of the person who's actually going to use it. The important thing here is that a user story isn't some technical command. It's a really simple human goal. It usually starts with something like, as a user, I want to. This little trick keeps the entire development process laser-focused on what actually matters to people. So, for our to-do app, these are our guiding lights. As a user, I need to see my tasks, add new ones, check them off when they're done, delete them, maybe even edit them. And I'll want to filter that list. Every single thing we build from this point on is going to serve one of these goals.
Okay, blueprint in hand, let's start building the frame of our house. In React, we define our app's layout using a language called JSX. Now, at first glance, it looks almost exactly like HTML, but it has some special superpowers that we'll get into in a bit.
So here it is, the JSX for our entire app structure. This might look like a lot, but what you're really seeing is a direct translation of our blueprint into code. Every piece of this user interface maps right back to one of those user stories we just defined.
Let's break it down. Remember that user story? As a user, I can add a task? Well, here it is in the code. This anchor form element, with its input field and button, is the skeleton that makes that goal possible.
And how about filtering tasks? Yep, you guessed it. See this little group of buttons here? That's our structure for letting users see all active or completed items. Again, it's code with a very clear user-focused purpose. And of course, the most basic feature of all, just reading the list of tasks. That's handled by these standard list elements. So there you have it, a complete plan of functional structure. But there's a problem. It looks, well, pretty bad. This is my favorite part. This is where the magic happens. We've got the skeleton, but now it's time to give it some skin. We're going to use CSS. That stands for Cascading Style Sheets, to transform this raw structure into something that actually looks good. And just look at the difference. It's night and day, right? On the left, that's our raw structure. It works, technically, but it's clunky. On the right, after we apply our styles, it looks like a real app. Clean, organized, easy on the eyes. It's the exact same structure, but a totally different experience. Okay, our app looks fantastic. But let's zoom in a little closer on the code itself, because there are a few professional details hidden in plain sight that make this thing way more robust and accessible for everyone. This is the kind of stuff that separates a quick and dirty prototype from a really well-crafted piece of software. Did you happen to notice that area pressed attribute on the buttons, or that visually hidden class? These details aren't for looks, they're for function.
So what does that do? Well, area pressed tells a screen reader whether a filter button is currently on or off. A sighted user can see which button is active, but for someone using assistive tech, this tiny attribute makes the whole interface make perfect sense. It's all about communication. And that visually hidden class? It's another clever trick. The words inside those spans, like show and tasks, are hidden from view, but for a screen reader, it reads the full context, like show all tasks, which is way more helpful than just hearing all. Here's another little detail that's super specific to React. In normal HTML, you use the for attribute to connect a label to an input field. But in JSX, you can't, because for is already a reserved word for, for loops in JavaScript. So React uses HTML4 instead. A small change, but a crucial one.
And oh man, this is a pro tip that will save you so much frustration. In JSX, if you write default checked equals false, you'd think that would uncheck a box, right? Wrong. It actually checks it. That's because you're passing the string false, and in JavaScript, any non-empty string is considered true. It's a classic gotcha.
So, let's recap. We have a solid plan, a well-defined structure, and a clean, professional design. Our app looks absolutely fantastic. There's just one tiny little problem. It doesn't do anything. Not a thing. Clicking the buttons does nothing. You can't add a task. It's all for show. For now.
And that brings us to the big question. We've successfully built the what the app is, what it looks like, its entire static form. But the next, and honestly the most exciting part, is building the how. How do we breathe life into it? How do we make it interactive? That's where things get really interesting.